Why is it that the more intelligent a man is, the more women run not toward him, but away? He's stable, he's rational, he's insightful, but somehow he's alone. You've been told that women love smart men, yet intelligent men are often ghosted, misunderstood, or rejected without warning. Here's the truth. It's not about his brain power. It's what his intelligence exposes, and most women can't handle it. Intelligence is the proverbial lump that sticks around the waist, the front, the hips, the bottom. It's a physical thing. Women can't handle it. Brace yourself. This will not be comfortable. But truth rarely is. Intelligent men can see through games, and that terrifies people used to emotional manipulation. There is a subtle dance in modern dating, one that is built not on honesty, but on performance. Who texts first? Who replies last? Who shows more emotion? Who hides their feelings better? It's exhausting. But intelligent men, they don't play. They observe, they analyze, and worst of all, they understand. When a woman attempts to test his commitment with silence, he sees the manipulation. When she tries to spark jealousy with a vague story about some guy, he doesn't react. When she pushes emotional buttons just to feel in control, he doesn't fall apart. That kind of clarity unnerves people, especially those who have used emotional tactics their whole lives as a form of validation. An intelligent man doesn't chase validation. He seeks connection. He doesn't need to be needed. He chooses to love. And because he is stable, his refusal to be pulled into drama feels like emotional rejection to those who equate chaos with affection. You see, emotional games rely on ignorance. They thrive when the other person doesn't know what's happening. But when an intelligent man stares calmly into the storm and says, "I see what you're doing and I won't participate," is like holding up a mirror to everything she wants to hide. He sees her need for approval, her hidden insecurities, her childhood wounds, her fear of being truly known, and instead of taking advantage of them, he offers maturity. But maturity isn't seductive to someone still addicted to the rush of emotional confusion. So she runs, not because he's wrong for her, but because he's right. He's too real, too aware, too awake. And sometimes the most frightening thing in the world isn't being unloved, it's being seen. Emotional independence in a man is rare and intimidating. It's not that he's cold. It's that he doesn't need someone to fix, complete, or rescue him. He's already whole. And that terrifies people who equate love with emotional dependency. You see, society has fed us a lie that a man should chase, validate, and emotionally coddle a woman constantly. So, when a woman meets a man who listens but doesn't overextend, who cares but doesn't lose himself, who loves her but doesn't idolize her, she feels insecure. Why? Because many women have been conditioned to believe their worth is tied to how much attention they can extract from a man. The more he needs her emotionally, the more valuable she feels. So when he doesn't spiral without her, when he doesn't beg for her presence, when he doesn't emotionally collapse when she pulls away, it feels like rejection, even if it isn't. An emotionally independent man has learned to self-soothe. He's wrestled with his darkness alone. He's processed his pain in silence, not by jumping from one woman to the next. So when he enters a relationship, it's not from a place of desperation. It's from intention. He chooses her, but he doesn't need her to breathe. And here's where the fear creeps in. If he doesn't need me, then what am I here for? If he can be happy without me, what value do I bring? And instead of seeing this independence as strength, some women interpret it as emotional distance. They feel irrelevant, unseen, or worse, replaceable. But the truth is, intelligent and emotionally independent men are the least likely to replace anyone because they don't jump into relationships lightly. They don't entertain just anyone. They value deep connection over attention. Still, that self-contained energy is powerful and sometimes overwhelming. It silently challenges a woman to grow, to love from fullness instead of fear, to give without needing to be constantly reassured. And many aren't ready for that level of emotional maturity. So rather than rise to meet him, they shrink away. Not because he's wrong, but because his presence exposes how much of their worth they've outsourced to being needed. He's not distant, he's evolved. And that evolution is often too much for those still trying to find their own emotional identity. An intelligent man doesn't just talk, he notices. He observes the contradictions between what you say and what you actually do. He sees the games, the inconsistencies, the emotional masks. And he doesn't call you out with aggression, he does it with silence, with unshakable calm, with unnerving clarity. And that's the problem. He reflects back to women the parts they haven't healed yet. He triggers growth, and growth isn't comfortable. Being with a man like this feels like being emotionally undressed. You can't hide behind filters, lashes, or curated femininity. He sees past that, straight into your patterns, your fears, your manipulations, not to judge, but because he's been through it himself. A man who's mentally and emotionally evolved knows your daddy wounds before you even open your mouth. He sees the abandonment issues, the attention hunger, the power games wrapped in feminine charm, and he doesn't entertain it. He doesn't fight you. He just doesn't flinch. And that right there is terrifying. Why? Because women who aren't ready for that kind of honesty will run from it. Not because he's cruel, but because his presence forces self-awareness. And when a woman is still hiding from her own truth, a man who sees her clearly will feel like a threat, not a partner. This man isn't controlled by sex, manipulation, or emotional theatrics. He doesn't get jealous easily. He won't beg. He doesn't chase energy that's inconsistent or toxic. And that kind of stability exposes the chaos in anyone who hasn't found peace within themselves. So instead of appreciating the security, she panics. Instead of admiring his wisdom, she rebels against it. Instead of feeling loved, she feels seen. And for some, that's too raw, too close. Intelligent men reflect your emotional maturity, or your lack of it. And most people don't want to confront what's inside. They want fantasy, attention, control. They want to feel good, not be better. But a truly intelligent man, he doesn't entertain your comfort zone. He won't argue. He won't play roles. He's a mirror. And if you're still broken, that reflection will haunt you. So women leave, not because he isn't good, but because he's too good, too honest, too calm, too wise, too much like the truth they've been running from their whole life. Let's be honest. Many women are used to being praised for simply showing up. Pretty face, compliments, curvy body, worship. Feminine energy, instant devotion. But when she meets an intelligent man, all of that, it doesn't move him the way she expects. He sees her beauty, but he's looking for something else, something deeper, something real. And that's terrifying, because suddenly the tricks don't work. The rehearsed flirty lines, the seductive smiles, the silent treatments, they fall flat. This man isn't captivated by aesthetics or drama. He's tuned into depth, conversation, alignment, how her mind works, how she responds to pressure, what she does when no one's watching. So when a woman realizes she can't manipulate or charm her way into his soul, she begins to panic. Not because he's doing anything wrong, but because he's forcing her to evolve, to bring more than her looks, to offer more than her curves, to become more than what society told her was enough. He's not dismissing her beauty, he's just not blinded by it. And that's the difference between a man who's intelligent and a man who's merely impressed. The intelligent man listens when she speaks, but he's also listening to what she's not saying. He notices when her confidence is a mask. He sees when her independence is actually fear in disguise. He hears the insecurity between her jokes, and instead of fawning over her, he pauses. He thinks. He waits. He wants a queen, not a performance. He wants substance, not seduction. He wants a partner, not a project. This challenges her. It breaks the narrative she's been fed all her life, that if she looks good, she deserves everything. But with him, she doesn't get attention by default. She earns respect through her truth. And for many women, that's unfamiliar territory, scary territory. They'd rather go back to men who flatter, not challenge, who idolize, not analyze, who chase blindly, not choose consciously. But an intelligent man doesn't chase illusions. He builds connection with depth, not desperation. So when she realizes she can't control his attraction, that it depends on who she really is, not just what she looks like, she either rises or she runs. Not because he's cold, but because he refuses to settle for surface level. And that scares anyone still hiding behind the surface. Let's be honest. Many women are used to being the center of emotional gravity in a relationship. They expect to be chased, validated, and constantly reassured. But when an intelligent man enters her life, the energy shifts. He's not emotionally desperate. He's not seeking permission to be himself. And most importantly, he's not afraid of being alone. This is where the game starts to feel unfamiliar and even threatening. Because emotional neediness is how many relationships are fueled. Texts for attention, silent treatments for control, sex for validation, drama to test love. But the intelligent man doesn't engage in that emotional warfare. He doesn't play the prove you love me game. He doesn't lose sleep over being ghosted or ignored. He simply moves in peace. And that peace can feel like rejection to someone who only knows chaos. He has boundaries, standards, a deep relationship with himself. So when a woman tries to pull emotional reactions from him, jealousy, insecurity, rage, he doesn't take the bait. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much about his own mental health to play with emotional volatility. He doesn't blow up your phone. He doesn't cry for attention. He doesn't beg you to stay. Instead, he watches. He observes. He gives space, not out of spite, but out of respect. Because emotional stability is his strength, not his weakness. And to someone who is still used to reactive love, that can feel cold. It can feel like distance. But it's not. It's maturity. He doesn't need constant affirmation to feel worthy. He doesn't crumble when you pull away. He doesn't lose himself to gain you. That's dangerous to anyone who feeds off power and control. You see, emotionally needy men are predictable. They chase, they react, they get jealous, clingy, and insecure. It gives women the upper hand. But an intelligent man? He's centered, grounded, unshaken. And that flips the entire dynamic on its head. He chooses, not chases. He listens, not reacts. He feels deeply, but doesn't collapse under emotion. That's intimidating. Because this kind of man cannot be emotionally manipulated. His sense of self isn't hanging on your mood. His love doesn't come from lack. It comes from overflow. He loves you because he wants to, not because he needs to. So the moment a woman realizes she can't control him with tears, silence, or emotional games, she either evolves or she leaves. Not because he's cruel, but because he is whole. And wholeness makes half-healed people uncomfortable. An intelligent man doesn't bring emotional chaos. He brings emotional clarity. And sometimes clarity is the scariest thing in the world, especially to someone who still equates love with drama. So yes, intelligent men scare most women, not because they're broken, but because they are whole. And that kind of emotional freedom is rare, powerful, and completely unshakable. If you are a man who thinks deeply, who sees beyond the surface, who listens more than you speaks, and feels more than you show, understand this: you are not intimidating. You are rare. You are the storm that can't be manipulated, the peace that cannot be provoked. And that scares people who only know how to function in emotional chaos. You don't fall for games. You don't chase breadcrumbs. You don't collapse just because someone withdrew their attention. You are not addicted to drama. You are allergic to pretense. And most importantly, you value truth, even when it's uncomfortable. That's why they call you too much. That's why they say you're hard to love. Because you refuse to be fooled by the surface and you demand something deeper. You demand soul, not performance. You seek alignment, not attachment. And the truth is, not every woman is ready for that. Some are still hiding behind filters, behind trauma, behind attention-seeking patterns masked as confidence. But you're not looking for attention. You're looking for connection. A woman who doesn't just look good in photos, but who looks honest in silence. A woman who doesn't just know how to pose, but knows how to show up for herself, for you, for truth. And until you find her, keep being whole. Don't shrink, don't settle, don't silence your mind to fit someone else's comfort zone. Because one day, you'll meet the woman who doesn't run from your depth. She'll dive into it. She'll respect your mind. She'll match your emotional strength. She won't just be pretty. She'll be powerful. She won't just be exciting. She'll be real. And when that day comes, you'll realize it was worth every moment you spent misunderstood. So, to every intelligent man out there, stay strong. You're not scary. You're just rare. And not everyone is ready for a love that isn't built on illusion.